The words that broke me. My name is James Carter and I'm 73 years old. Yo, Alex, your grandpa still lives with you. One of the boys laughed. Yeah, Alex replied, casually. He's always around, just sitting there, watching everything. I stood just outside the living room, my hand resting on the wall. Another voice chimed in. Doesn't that get annoying? Alex chuckled. Honestly, yeah, he's kind of a burden, like just an old man waiting around. The room filled with laughter. I didn't move. Come on, man, one of them said. That's messed up. No, seriously, Alex continued, his voice dropping slightly. He's always asking questions, always around. It's like, don't you have anything better to do? More laughter. I felt something tighten in my chest. Bro, at least he probably tells cool stories, another kid joked. Yeah, the same ones over and over, Alex said. I've heard them a million times. I swallowed hard. Whatever, Alex added. I just stay in my room most of the time now. It's easier. Easier. I slowly stepped back into the hallway, careful not to make a sound. For a moment, I just stood there. Dinner's in an hour, I called out, forcing my voice to sound normal. Yeah, okay, Alex shouted back. I walked to my room and closed the door quietly. I sat down on the edge of my bed. A burden, I whispered. I stared at my hands. Just an old man waiting around. I let out a slow breath. After everything, I leaned back in my chair and looked at the old photo on my dresser. Mary, I said softly, did you hear that? Of course there was no answer. I chuckled weakly. You always said kids don't mean what they say. I paused. But he sounded like he meant it. Silence filled the room. I worked 45 years, I muttered. 45 years for this family. I rubbed my forehead. Remember when Alex was born? I said, my voice barely above a whisper. I held him in my arms and promised I'd always be there for him. I shook my head slowly, and now I leaned forward, elbows on my knees. Maybe I stayed too long, I said. My voice echoed back at me. Too long. There was a knock on my door. Grandpa, Alex's voice. I straightened up quickly. Yeah? Dinner's going to be late. Mum said we ordered food. Oh, okay, I replied. Cool, he said. You good? I hesitated. Yeah, I'm fine. All right, he said, already sounding distracted. I'll be in my room. Alex, I called out. Yeah, I opened my mouth, then stopped. Nothing, I said. Just don't stay up too late. Yeah, he replied. His footsteps faded. I leaned back again. You good? I repeated quietly. I let out a dry laugh. That's a funny question. I looked back at Mary's photo. I thought I was, I said. I really did. I stood up slowly and walked to the window. Outside, everything looked normal. Cars passing by, lights on in other houses, people living their lives. Funny how everything looks the same, I murmured, even when something inside you breaks. I placed my hand on the glass. I gave them everything, I said. Every hour, every ounce of strength I had. I closed my eyes, and somehow it still wasn't enough. I turned back toward the room. No, I corrected myself. Maybe it was never about enough. I sat down again, this time more firmly. Maybe, I said slowly. It's time I stop assuming and start seeing. I looked at the door, seeing what people really feel. I took a deep breath. Because if that's how he sees me, I whispered, then I need to know if the rest of them feel the same. The room was silent again, but this time it felt different, not empty, clear. And for the first time in a long time, I wasn't thinking about what I had given. I was thinking about what I had never questioned. I wasn't always like this, you know, I said quietly, staring at Mary's photo. Like what? I imagined her asking, that gentle smile on her face. Old, quiet, forgotten, I replied. I leaned back in my chair. There was a time I couldn't sit still, even if I tried. I chuckled softly. You remember, don't you? James, you never stop moving. I could almost hear her say, even on Sundays. Yeah, I nodded. Even on Sundays. I rubbed my hands together, the roughness still there after all these years. 45 years in that garage, I muttered. Oil, grease, broken engines, broken backs. You loved it, her voice echoed in my head. I love providing, I corrected. That's different. I stood up and walked slowly across the room. Hey, Dad. A younger voice echoed in my memory. Yeah, buddy, I replied back then, wiping my hands on a rag. Can you come outside? I want to show you something. Give me 10 minutes, I'd shout. You always said 10 minutes, Mary used to laugh. And it always turned into an hour, I admitted. You were doing your best, she would say. I thought I was, I whispered. I paused, letting the memories settle. Do you remember the night our son was born? I asked. You cried more than the baby, she teased in my mind. I was scared, I admitted. Scared I wouldn't be enough. You were always enough, James. I shook my head slowly. I didn't believe that. I sat down again. I made a promise that night, I said. I told myself my son would never struggle the way I did. And you kept that promise, Mary's voice replied. At a cost, I added. What cost? She asked. Everything, I said simply. I stared at the floor. I miss birthdays, I continued. Anniversaries, dinners, little moments that don't seem important until they're gone. You were working, she reminded me. I know, I said, but sometimes I wonder if I was also running. Running from what? From failing, I answered. Silence filled the room. I worked overtime, I went on, took every extra shift they offered. You came home exhausted, Mary said softly in my memory. And you were always there, I replied. Dinner ready, smile on your face, like everything was okay. We were a team, she said. Yeah, I smiled faintly. We were. I looked at her photo again. You never complained, I said. I didn't have to, she replied. I had you. My throat tightened. And I had you, I whispered. I took a deep breath. After our son grew up, I continued, I thought things would slow down. They didn't, she said. No, I shook my head. They didn't. I laughed quietly. Then came Alex. You adored him, she said. I still do, I replied quickly. I know, her voice softened. I used to carry him on my shoulders, I said. He'd laugh like the world was perfect. And to him it was, she said. I made sure of that, I nodded. I paused. Do you remember how he used to run to the door when I came home? I asked. Every single day, she smiled. Grandpa's here, he'd shout, I said, my voice cracking slightly. I closed my eyes. Back then, I mattered, I whispered. You still do, Mary's voice insisted. I didn't answer right away. Do I finally asked. Silence. I looked away. After you left, I said slowly, I thought the family would come closer. They tried, she said gently. Did they? I replied. Or did I just believe that because I needed to? I stood up and walked toward the window again. At first they called more, I said. Visited more. And then, she asked. And then life got busy, I answered. Or at least, that's what they said. They didn't mean to hurt you, Mary said. I know, I replied. That's the worst part. I turned back. It wasn't one big moment, I explained. It was small things. Like what? Conversations getting shorter, I said. Visits getting less frequent. I folded my arms. Eventually, I stopped being part of their plans. You were still there, she said. Physically, I nodded, but not really. I sighed. It's strange, I said. You don't notice it happening. What? Becoming invisible, I replied. The room felt heavier. I went from being the one they depended on, I continued, to the one they worked around. Mary didn't respond this time, and somehow, I said quietly, I didn't even question it. I sat down again, staring at nothing. I just accepted it. I let out a long breath. Maybe that's my fault, I admitted. Maybe I gave so much that they forgot I was human too. I looked at her photo one last time. Or maybe, I said slowly, I never gave them a reason to see me any other way. Silence answered me, and for the first time, that silence felt like the truth. There's something I never told anyone, I said quietly, looking at Mary's photo. What is it, James? I imagined her asking. I exhaled slowly. Something I've carried for most of my life. I leaned back in my chair. I was 14, I began. Just a kid, didn't know much about anything. And your grandfather? Her voice came softly. Yeah, I nodded. He called me over one afternoon. James, he said, come sit with me. I smiled faintly at the memory. I remember asking him, am I in trouble? And what did he say? Mary asked. No. Son, he told me, I just want to talk. I rubbed my hands together. He looked tired, I continued, like he knew something I didn't. You were close to him, she said. Closer than anyone, I replied. I paused. I don't have much to leave behind, he told me, but there's something that belongs to you now. What was it? Mary asked. A piece of land, I said. Out in the county. Nothing special, just trees, dirt, and an old cabin. And you didn't understand? She guessed. Not at all, I shook my head. I asked him, what am I supposed to do with land? I chuckled softly. And what did he say? She asked. I looked down, remembering every word. You don't need to understand it now, he said. Just hold on to it. I swallowed. I sat down again. Years passed, I said. Then decades. And the land? She asked. Still there, I replied. Quiet, forgotten. I paused. Until 2 months ago. What happened? She asked. I leaned forward slightly. My phone rang, I said. Unknown number. And you answered? Yeah, I nodded. Didn't think much of it. What did they say? She asked. Mr. Carter, I repeated. We've been trying to reach you about a property you own. I felt that same moment again. I said, what property? And, she pressed. The land in Millbrook County, I replied. We represent a development company interested in purchasing it. I let out a slow breath. You were surprised, she said. Completely, I nodded. I hadn't thought about that land in years. What did you tell them? She asked. I said I'd think about it, I replied. And then, she asked, they came back with a number, I said quietly. What kind of number? Her voice softened. I looked at the floor. A number I had never seen before, I admitted. Silence. Say it, she urged gently. I shook my head slowly. It didn't feel real. James! Millions, I finally said. The word hung in the air. That land, all those years, it turned into something I never expected. And you didn't tell the family? She asked. No, I answered firmly. Why? She asked. I leaned back again. Because I needed to see something first, I said. What? She asked. I closed my eyes briefly. The truth, I whispered. About them? She asked. About all of them, I replied. I opened my eyes. Because if that land was really going to take care of me one day, I said slowly, then I needed to know who actually cared about me before the money did. After that night, I started paying attention, I said quietly. To what? Mary's voice echoed in my mind. To everything, I replied. I leaned back, staring at the ceiling. Not just what they said, I added, but what they didn't say. Silence. You notice things differently when your heart's already cracked, I murmured. What did you see? She asked gently. I exhaled slowly. Conversation stopped when I walked in, I said. Not suddenly, just enough to feel it. Maybe it was nothing, she suggested. That's what I told myself. I nodded. At first, I stood up and paced slowly. I'd walk into the kitchen and hear them talking, I continued. Then it'd go quiet. What kind of quiet? She asked. The kind that says you weren't meant to hear it, I replied. I stopped walking. And when they did talk, I went on, it felt short. Short? She repeated. One word answers, I said. Half attention, eyes on their phones. That happens, she said softly. Not like this, I replied. Not when someone cares. I crossed my arms. I tried to join in once, I said. They were talking about some trip. What did you say? She asked. I said, that sounds nice. Where are you planning to go? And, she pressed. They looked at me like I'd interrupted something, I answered. I paused. My son said, oh, it's just a quick thing, Dad. Nothing big. That hurt, she asked. It wasn't the words, I said. It was the tone. I sat down again. I used to be part of those plans, I whispered. You still could be, she said. No, I shook my head. Not anymore. Silence filled the room. It kept happening, I continued. Small things, every day. Like what? She asked. I'd ask Alex about school, I said. He'd say, it's fine, and walk away. He's a teenager, she reminded me. I know, I nodded, but there's a difference between being busy and not caring. I looked down at my hands. I started to feel like a guest in my own home, I admitted. Mary didn't respond. And then I paused. What happened? She asked. One afternoon, I said slowly, I came back earlier than usual. From where? She asked. A walk, I replied. I needed some air. I leaned forward. The front door was slightly open, I continued. I didn't make a sound. And you heard something? She asked. I nodded. My son was in the living room, I said, talking to Alex. What were they saying? Her voice softened. I swallowed. Alex said, he's always round, Dad. It's weird. My chest tightened again, just remembering it. And my son. I paused. James, she urged gently. He said, I know, but what can we do? Silence. I continued, my voice lower now. Alex asked, can't he just, I don't know, go somewhere else? I closed my eyes, and my son said, I stopped. Say it, Mary whispered. He said, he's old, Alex. He doesn't have anywhere else to go. The words echoed in my head. But then, I added. What? She asked. He said, just give it time. We'll figure something out. Silence filled the room again. I opened my eyes slowly. Figure something out, I repeated. What do you think he meant? She asked. I don't know, I said. And honestly, I don't think I wanted to know. I leaned back. That's when it hit me, I said quietly. What did? She asked. This wasn't just Alex being careless, I replied. This wasn't just one bad moment. I shook my head. This was how they really felt. Mary didn't speak. I wasn't part of the family anymore, I continued. I was something they had to deal with. That's not true, she said softly. I heard it, I replied. Clear as day. I stood up again, and in that moment, I said slowly, something inside me changed. How? She asked. I stopped hoping, I answered. Silence. I wasn't angry, I added. I wasn't even hurt anymore. What were you then? She asked. I looked toward the door. Done, I said. The word felt heavier than anything I'd said before. Done trying, I continued. Done pretending I didn't see it. Mary's voice faded into silence. And for the first time, I said quietly, I wasn't thinking about how to fix things. I paused. I was thinking about what came next. I didn't sleep that night, I said quietly. Not at all, Mary's voice asked in my mind. Not even for a minute, I replied. I sat on the edge of my bed, remembering it clearly. What kept you awake? She asked. Everything, I said. Every memory, every sacrifice. I rubbed my face slowly. I kept hearing their voices, I continued, over and over again. Alex's words, she asked. And my son's, I nodded. We'll figure something out. Silence. What did you feel? She asked gently. At first, pain, I admitted. Then something else. What? She pressed. Clarity, I said. I stood up and walked toward the window. For the first time in years, I continued, I wasn't making excuses for them. That's hard, she said softly. Harder than anything, I replied. I looked outside into the dark. I asked myself a simple question, I said. What question? She asked. If I have nothing left to give, would they still want me here? Silence answered me. And I already knew the answer, I added. I turned back into the room. So, what did you do? She asked. I made a decision, I said firmly. What kind of decision? Her voice sharpened slightly. The kind you don't come back from, I replied. I picked up my coat from the chair. The next morning I made a call, I said. To who? She asked. The developer, I answered. What did you tell him? She asked. I said, let's meet. And he agreed, she asked. Immediately, I nodded. He sounded eager. I let out a faint breath. We met at his office that afternoon, I continued. What was it like? She asked. Clean, I said. Too clean, like everything had already been decided. And you? She asked. I walked in like I had nothing to lose, I replied. I sat down again. He shook my hand, I said. Mr. Carter, it's a pleasure. And what did you say? She asked. I said, let's not waste time. She chuckled softly in my mind. That sounds like you. I didn't go there to negotiate, I said. I went there to finish something. And the offer? She asked. Still on the table, I replied. Same number. That must have been overwhelming, she said. It should have been, I nodded. But it wasn't. Why not? She asked. Because by then, it wasn't about the money, I said. I paused. What was it about? She asked. Respect, I answered. Silence filled the room. He slid the papers across the table, I continued. Take your time, he said. And did you? She asked. No, I shook my head. I picked up the pen. That fast? She asked. That's certain, I replied. I looked down at my hands. My hand didn't shake, I said. Not once. And then? She asked. I signed, I said simply. The word felt heavier than it should have. Just like that, she asked. Just like that, I nodded. The land was gone. And the money? She asked. In my account by the end of the day, I replied. Silence. How did it feel? She asked. I thought for a moment. Quiet, I said. Quiet, she repeated. Like something had finally settled, I explained. I leaned back. But that wasn't the end, I added. No? She asked. No, I shook my head. That was just the beginning. Of what? She asked. Of a choice, I said. What kind of choice? She pressed. I looked toward her photo. I could have told them, I said. Could have walked in and said, look what I have. And, she asked. They would have changed overnight, I replied. Yes, she said softly, but not for the right reasons, I added. Silence. So I decided something else, I continued. What? She asked. I wasn't going to use that money to impress anyone, I said. Good, she replied. I wasn't going to hand it to people who saw me as a burden, I added. You shouldn't, she agreed. I stood up slowly. I had a different plan, I said. What kind of plan? She asked. I took a deep breath. The kind that doesn't just change your life, I said slowly, but shows people exactly who they are. Silence. And what did you learn? She asked. I looked straight ahead. That respect and love, I paused, aren't things you can fake. I didn't tell anyone, I said quietly. Not even your son, Mary's voice asked. Not a soul, I replied. I sat at the table, remembering every detail. So what did you do first? She asked. I made calls, I said. What kind of calls? She pressed. The kind that actually matter, I answered. She stayed silent, waiting. The first place I thought of was yours, I said softly. Mine? She asked gently. The community centre, I replied. The one you loved. There was a pause. It was falling apart, I continued. Roof leaking, walls cracked. I remember, she said quietly. You used to come home and say, these people deserve better. I smiled faintly. And you listened, she asked. This time, I really did, I said. I leaned forward. I called the director, I continued. What did you say? She asked. I said, tell me what you need. And, she asked. He hesitated, I said. Sir, it's a lot. What did you tell him? She asked. I said, try me. A small silence followed. He told me everything, I said. Repairs, supplies, staff. That must have been expensive, she said. It was, I nodded, but I didn't think twice. What did you do? She asked. I said, start the work. I'll cover it. She went quiet. What did he say? She asked. He didn't speak for a few seconds, I said. Then he said, why? And your answer? She asked. Because someone should, I replied. Silence. And that was just the beginning, I added. What came next? She asked. I smiled faintly. The kids, I said. The kids, she repeated. The ones who remind me of us, I explained. She didn't interrupt. I met a school counsellor, I continued. What did they tell you? She asked. They said we have students who could change the world if they had a chance. And, she asked, I asked, what's stopping them? What was the answer? She asked. Money, I said simply. Silence filled the room. So I created something, I continued. What did you create? She asked. A scholarship fund, I said. There was a pause. In your name, I added softly. Mary didn't speak for a moment. You didn't have to do that, she finally said. I wanted to, I replied. What will it do? She asked. Give them a chance, I said. The kind we fought to give our son. She sighed quietly. How many? She asked. As many as I can help, I replied. And how did it feel? She asked. Different, I said. Different how? She asked. Real, I answered. Silence. And then, she asked, there was someone else, I said. Who? She asked. A woman, I replied. Single mother. What about her? She asked. She was about to lose her home, I said. That's heartbreaking, she whispered. I met her by accident, I continued. What happened? She asked. She said, I don't need charity. I just need time, I recalled. And, she asked. I said, "What if I could give you both?" "What did she say?" she asked. "She cried," I said simply. Silence filled the space again. "I paid what she needed," I continued, "gave her breathing room." "That changes everything," she said. "It does," I nodded. I leaned back in my chair. "You know what surprised me the most?" I asked. "What?" she replied. "They didn't ask for more," I said. She paused. "They didn't try to take advantage," I added. "No?" she asked. "No," I shook my head. "They said thank you." "Just thank you?" she asked. "Not just," I corrected gently. "They meant it." Silence. "One of the kids said, 'I won't waste this chance,'" I continued. "That's powerful," she said. "The woman said, 'You didn't just help me, you saw me,'" I added. Mary's voice softened. "That matters," she said. "More than anything," I replied. I looked down at my hands. "All my life," I said slowly. "I gave because I had to." "You were a provider," she reminded me. "I was," I nodded. "But this was different." "How?" she asked. "I wasn't giving out of obligation," I said. "Then what?" she asked. "Purpose," I answered. Silence wrapped around me again. "And the difference?" she asked. I smiled faintly. "The right people don't just take," I said. "They appreciate." Mary didn't respond right away. "And that," I added quietly, "is something I had almost forgotten existed." The phone wouldn't stop ringing. "James, are you okay?" My son's voice trembled through the receiver. "I'm fine," I said calmly. "I just wanted to check in." "Check in?" he repeated. "Dad, we miss you." I paused, listening to the words. Funny how quickly they came once they knew. "Miss me?" I asked quietly. "After all these years?" There was a long silence. "We should spend more time together," he added finally. I sighed. "Of course," I said, but I wasn't sure I believed him. Later that week, I agreed to meet them. One last time. The moment I walked into the living room, I noticed the smiles. Forced. Too bright, too wide. "Hi, Dad," Alex chirped, but it sounded rehearsed. "Hey, Dad," my son added, shaking my hand like we were strangers. I sat down slowly, watching them fidget. "So, how are things?" my son asked. "Good," I said, up my voice steady. "Really good." Another silence. "You look well," Alex said. "I am well," I replied. "Much better than you think." They exchanged glances. Finally I spoke. "Do you remember what you said the other night?" Alex blinked. "What do you mean?" I let the words hang. "About me, being just an old man, a burden, waiting around." Alex swallowed hard. Dad, I didn't mean that." I held up a hand. "I know what you meant. I heard it." My son's face paled. "James, we didn't..." I leaned forward. "You see, that wasn't the first time I realised something. Not the first time I felt invisible. But that night, that broke me." They both looked at me, unsure. "I did something," I said quietly. "Something I never told you about." "What?" my son asked, voice trembling. "I sold the land my grandfather left me," I said. "Signed the papers. I used the money." I paused, letting the weight of my words sink in. "To help people who actually needed it. Not to impress anyone, not to be noticed, just to do something that mattered." Alex's eyes widened. "Wait, you gave it away?" "I gave it where it mattered," I said. "Where respect and gratitude exist, where love is real." My son's voice cracked. "Dad, we had no idea." "No," I said, "you didn't. And that's the point." Alex's lips trembled. I'm sorry," he whispered. "For what?" I asked softly. "For not seeing you," he said. "For not appreciating you." I shook my head. "That's not why I did it. I didn't do it for you. Silence filled the room. Then why? My son asked. For me, I replied. For the first time in my life, I gave with purpose, not obligation, not expectation. I gave where it counted. They didn't speak. I just stared, realizing the truth in my words. And that's when I saw it, I continued. All the smiles, all the concern. It wasn't love. It never was. At least, not the way I needed it to be. Alex's eyes welled up. We're so sorry, Grandpa. I nodded. I know, and that's enough. I don't need apologies. I needed clarity, and now I have it. Another long silence settled over the room. I hope, I said softly, that one day you'll understand what real giving means. Real care, real respect. They nodded, too stunned for words. And that's the last time I'll measure my worth by how you see me, I added. I finally understand it myself. The room stayed quiet, and for the first time in decades, I felt free. Some mornings, I wake up and just breathe, really breathe. The scent of salt from the ocean drifts in through my window, and I sip my coffee slowly, letting the warmth fill me. No alarms, no obligations, just quiet. Good morning, James, called out Maria, my neighbour, as she passed by with her little dog. Morning, Maria, I replied, waving. I smile more these days. Not the polite smile you give when you're supposed to, but the kind that comes from inside. Real smiles. After breakfast, I usually walk along the shoreline. The waves crash softly against the rocks, a rhythm that seems to echo the calm I feel inside. Sometimes I stop and talk to the fishermen who've been working these waters for decades. You're up early again, James, one of them says with a grin. Couldn't resist, I reply. The ocean waits for no one. I volunteer at the local community centre, the same one I helped renovate years ago. Kids run around, laughing, and sometimes they stop to talk to me. Grandpa James, a little girl calls, holding a drawing she made. That's beautiful, I say, genuinely impressed. Did you draw this for me? She nods shyly. Yes, thank you for everything you do. Those words, simple, sincere, they mean more than any cheque or contract ever could. I spend afternoons reading, mostly old novels and some books on philosophy. I even started journaling, something I never did in my younger days. Writing down thoughts, fears, joys. It feels like a conversation with myself. Occasionally I meet old friends for tea or a quiet lunch. They don't ask about money, houses or family dramas. They ask about life, dreams, stories. And I enjoy every minute of it. Sometimes I think about my family. My son calls occasionally. Alex texts a funny meme now and then. I don't feel bitterness. I don't need them to validate me anymore. I understand them. And in that understanding, I found something I never had before. Freedom. Freedom from expectation. Freedom from disappointment. Freedom from pretending to be someone I wasn't. Freedom to give only where it truly matters. I chuckle to myself sometimes, remembering all those years of giving blindly, hoping for appreciation that never came. Now my giving is deliberate, it's quiet, it's meaningful, and it fills me in ways that accolades and praise never could. At 73, I realise something profound. Real love doesn't measure how much you can give. It doesn't tally deeds or sacrifices. It just notices you, appreciates you, and that simple recognition that someone truly values your presence is worth more than any amount of money in the world. The sunset is my favourite part of the day. I sit on the small wooden bench near the shore, coffee in hand, letting the colours paint the sky. The orange melts into pink, pink into purple, purple into night. And I think, Life isn't about control or wealth or impressing others. Life is about moments like this. Quiet, calm, genuine. I sometimes talk to the ocean, though not out loud. I tell it my secrets, my regrets, my joys, and it listens, as patient and steady as ever. I've met people who remind me what human kindness really means. Neighbours, strangers, volunteers, even children. They teach me more about life than I could have imagined. And in return, I share what I've learned, not as a lecture, but as a gift. A piece of wisdom, a story of someone who lived, lost, and finally found peace. Sometimes, when the wind blows just right, I can hear the echoes of my past life. The laughter of Alex as a boy, my wife's soft voice, the busy clatter of a house that once was my entire world. I smile. Those echoes don't hurt anymore. They're reminders of the journey that brought me here. I don't hate, I don't yearn, I just exist fully, freely. And in this existence, I've discovered something that money, status, and family recognition never gave me. Peace, real peace. Every night, I watch the stars appear one by one, glittering in the endless dark. And I whisper quietly to myself, this is enough. This is what I wanted. This is life. And it is. Here at last, I am truly home. I found an old notebook the other day, one I'd kept since Mary passed. Inside, there was a letter I'd meant to write to Alex, a letter I never sent. I wrote about love, sacrifice, and the small things that truly matter. I told him I forgave him, even if he never understood. I realised something as I read my own words. It wasn't about teaching anyone a lesson anymore. It was about honouring the life I lived and the love I still carry. And for the first time, I smiled without expectation. Life had given me something far greater than money, far greater than approval. It gave me peace, purpose, and freedom. And that is a story worth telling, even if only to myself.
Moral of the story: true love and respect aren't measured by wealth or obligation. They are shown through gratitude, care, and giving with purpose. Sometimes the most meaningful gifts are the ones that touch hearts, not wallets. The end.